You know, Chris, it's been such a pleasure for me. I've gotten to see some of the advocates for gun owners that work underneath you in Washington pushing for this legislation. National reciprocity still on the tops of everybody's minds. I know a lot of people are getting frustrated over it, but boy, I can tell you, people are still working very hard, and there's not a day that goes by, not here at NRA-TV, and I know up in Washington where you are, where we are not talking about this, right?
Well, ultimately, our goal with this organization is to protect and defend the Constitution, is to protect and defend the Second Amendment. It's to make sure that if you're a law-abiding American, you have the right to defend yourself. God forbid you ever have that need. And a right to defend yourself anywhere you have a legal right to be. I mean, we saw with this horrific hurricane with Irma, we saw our fellow NRA members down in Florida having to deal with the real-world consequences of what happens when you can't dial 911, what happens when you're left to your own or left on your own 100% to defend yourself and your family and your property. And it's a reminder, and all of us need to remember that in times of need, it's ultimately up to you. You're your ultimate defender of yourself and your family and your property. The police are going to do their best, and God bless them for being out there and doing what they're doing, particularly in the Virgin Islands and the Keys and all across Florida and the Gulf Coast areas where they've been impacted by this storm. But this is real world. I mean, this is self-defense. This is your life, and that's what we're out there every day. And every day the NRA is fighting on some level and at every level for safe and responsible gun ownership. That's what we're about. Others talk about it, we do it, but ultimately we're going to be out there fighting every day to make sure that you have a legal right to defend yourself anywhere you have a legal right to be. The next logical step in this is right to carry reciprocity. We've seen in the states over the last 30 years, state by state, where we've passed these bills to allow people to carry guns lawfully and legally. And law-abiding gun owners are the most law-abiding segment of society. The amount of revocations of licenses in these states have become so low that some of them just stopped keeping up with it because it wasn't worth their effort. So we've proven to be trustworthy. We've proven to be safe. States are recognizing other permits right now, as you know, but not all of them. And you shouldn't be subject to jail for simply exercising a fundamental right that you have in your own state and that you should have in other states. This is a logical step. The left's going crazy. Our opponents are going crazy. The national news media is right back with the same doomsday predictions that they threw out there 30 years ago when Wayne LaPierre and Marion Hammer and NRA members all across Florida were working to pass the first good right to carry law in that state. And what we've seen is a great discussion move forward, but it didn't just happen. It happened because the members of the National Rifle Association fought in those states to make it happen. They fought in the legal arena. They fought in the academic arena. And for all those who are criticizing us, it was pretty lonely back in those days, and I don't remember many of those folks, if any of them, being out there in those courtrooms, being out there in those state legislatures, being in Congress working on these things. So now's not the time to snipe at each other. Now's not the time to try to undermine our efforts. Now's the time to move forward as quickly and expeditiously as possible to make sure that Congress does the right thing here. And if we do that together, we're going to expand self-defense for law-abiding gun owners in a huge way.